Good morning, everyone. Look, I know you had a good time last night, so I'm gonna try that again. Good morning, everyone. All right. Welcome back for the final day at Motlow State Community College and the 2023 Tennessee Board of Regents meeting hosted by us here. I hope that you had a good evening of fellowship and, as we talked about yesterday, connection. This morning, I'm joined by my colleagues that I work with within the region on an interim basis. To my left, we have Jeff. I'll call him by the first names, everybody by their first names, who is serving in probably his, I think, like 14th interim position as he assists the region, the state, and the board in covering as we fill slots. So, Dr. Sis, thank you for being here. To his left, we have Dr. Melody Edmonds, who is the president of TCAC McMinnville, who also used to work here at Motlow. For those of you who don't know that, this is how we grow them. We grow them and we release them, and they go do great things in the state and in the region. So welcome. And then lastly, the newest kid on the block, Mr. Patrick Wade. But I like to put things into the ether because they then become true. The soon-to-be Dr. Patrick Wade. We've been having this conversation for a while, and I'm going to continue to have my heel where it needs to be to help him along to getting there. Or boot. This morning, what we'll do is cover some items and topics, and we wanted to do this as a team. This is how we work within this region. So the four of us are together, conjoined, as I mentioned yesterday, connected. This is how we get our work done in the Southern Middle Tennessee region. So Dr. Sisk, you're up first.
Hey, thanks, Michael. Thank you for the tremendous hospitality you guys have shown to all of us. You and your staff are tremendous. We talked this morning. This campus has a really cool vibe. When you drive up on it, it looks like an exclusive private college tucked away in the woods, and it's on a great space. But behind the walls here, great technology, tremendous programs, and engaging faculty and students who are really loving being here. The young lady who helped me find the lunch hall yesterday, psychology major, going to MTSU after this, wants to be a social worker. And so that was just a cool experience. So thank you for your hospitality, your students and your staff. Last time I was on this campus was a couple of years ago when I watched your baseball team sweep a 3-game series against my son's team at Jackson State. So it wasn't a great trip for me, but I still enjoyed the view. Michael mentioned I've been an interim president or multiple times, or as my mom used to say, boy, can't you keep a job? But I've been at TCAT Shelbyville now for about 3 weeks. I'm still finding all the rooms and how to park, and previously scheduled activities haven't allowed me to be on the campus as much as I'd wanted to, but beginning next week, that kind of works out. So when the chancellor asked me to serve as interim president at Shelbyville, I had absolutely zero concerns walking in the door at TCAT Shelbyville. That school has been historically run very well. Dr. Laura Monks was a tremendous president. Her predecessor, Ivan Jones, was tremendous, so I had zero concerns about TCAT Shelbyville. That's not always the case when you're walking in as an interim president somewhere, but that was great. Speaking of former Motlow folks who have moved around a bit, Lisa Sanders. Lisa is a VP of Academic Affairs at TCAT Shelbyville, and she typed up some notes for me as we talked about what we wanted to talk about today. When you think about TBR's mission of student success and workforce development, that's Shelbyville's focus. And we're an integral part of the higher ed ecosystem in Southern Middle Tennessee. And I've got a couple of examples of how that dual purpose mission is being realized at TCAT Shelbyville. Now I've got all the basic stats and notes, right? SOAR Campus of the Year, SOAR TCAT of the Year back in 2021, a finalist or a nominee back in 23. Got an aviation campus that has received their initial approval from FAA, waiting for that final approval in the next visit as they walk in. New pharmacy tech program, new correctional officer programs for the spring of 24. Did a bid opening Regina Hooper, I know you're well informed on that, and Dick Tracy can talk about that a little bit more, but the Bedford County Higher Education Center had a bid opening, and they're working through that process now. Finished up a clean accreditation reaffirmation visit a week before I got there. 0 findings of noncompliance, so I don't have to fix anything there. Really excited about that. TSAC audit, no findings. VA audit, no findings. That's what I mean when you're walking into a really well-run organization. A 40% increase in dual enrollment from last fall. And you know those TCAT numbers, right? Completion rates of 86%. Total job placement rate of 89%, a licensure exam pass rate of 100% at TCAT Shelbyville. And so all that's well and good, but here's a number I really like. Well, in the last year, there have been 9 TCAT Shelbyville students to matriculate on to Motlow State to work on that next degree. Now, yesterday in my presentation I mentioned I'm not a stats expert. I'm more of a qualitative person. I like to tell stories to give the examples and stuff. So I'm going to tell you 3 quick stories about that illustrate how that higher ed ecosystem works here in southern Middle Tennessee between TCATS and Motlow as a community college. Let me introduce a student who we got here, Bryson Casey. Bryson, can you stand up and say hi to everybody? All right. Bryson is an industrial maintenance student at TCAT Shelbyville. During his senior year at Fayetteville High School, he was a dual enrollment student. Following his high school graduation in May of 22, he committed to full-time student at TCAT Shelbyville, where he pursued his diploma in industrial maintenance. In September of 22, he actually began a co-op down at Frito-Lay, an experience that provides him with that invaluable real-world experience that complements his classroom education. He's on pace, on course to finish his diploma in December, and he'll be a full-time employee at Frito-Lay at that point. So Dr. Lemming speaks a lot about high-impact practices. So that's an real-world example of a couple of high-impact practices that we have at a TCAT, dual enrollment, and then work-based learning co-op opportunities. Now, I talked about we send students to Motlow. Sometimes Motlow grads come back to the TCAT for stuff. Let me introduce to you Lauren Flatt. Lauren, please stand and say hello. So Lauren's journey began in 2007 when she enrolled part-time at Motlow State. She was a dedicated single mom and worked as a CNA while she finished her studies at Motlow State. She finished her associates in 2011. She, in looking for a career in healthcare, she joined TCAT Shelbyville's LPN program, practical nursing program. She finished the LPN program in the fall of 2012, that career in a year, right, as an LPN, leading to a significant pay raise at Southern Tennessee Regional Health Systems in Franklin County as a licensed practical nurse with an associate's degree, kind of a unique combination. So while she was at the hospital, she helped our PN students during their clinical rotations. So eventually TCAT Shelbyville hired her as an adjunct faculty member to assist with that. And after several years of instructing on the adjunct side, we hired her in an administrative role at TCAT Shelbyville, where she assists dual enrollment students in preparing for their future careers in technical education. And finally, that third story on how that higher ed ecosystem works. Chris Cantrell. Chris, please stand. Chris is our industrial maintenance instructor. Chris is an industrial maintenance instructor, started at the old state area VOTEC back in the early 2000s, before they were TCAS, before they were TTCs. Just a huge, impressive array of certificates in different fields, drafting, CAD, welding, electrical, HVAC. He earned a diploma in industrial maintenance in 2007. So from 95 to 2014, Chris was a facility and maintenance manager at National Pen. So worked in the field for years and years and years. In May 2014, he accepted a new challenge and he came on board as the industrial maintenance instructor at TCAT Shelbyville. So fulfillment in guiding students to enhance their knowledge of industrial maintenance and all those key worker characteristics, because he did it for a living before he started teaching it, which is typical for most TCAT faculty members. But it wasn't enough for Chris. He didn't want to stop there. Chris then enrolled in Motlow's Mechatronics Associate's Degree program while he was a full-time faculty member. That was not only to help himself out personally, professionally, it was to help his students have a greater experience in the classroom itself. He graduated with a cum laude distinction with his Associates of Applied Science degree in May of 22. He's got all these Siemens level certification while he was enrolled here. So we're incredibly grateful for folks like Chris and his commitment to our student success and workforce development mission. And we're grateful for Motlow Community College for being a great partner to allow our staff and faculty to do things just like that. It feeds into the higher ed ecosystem, and Motlow is an incredible partner, and we look forward to more productive years in the future. Thanks, Michael.
This is off script, but if you're looking for an opportunity, you come work.
We'll talk about the contract.
All right. Good morning, everyone. And as Dr. Torrance mentioned earlier, I did spend a great part of my career at Motlow, and I have a lot of friends here. And when I changed this role, I actually only changed from turning left into a parking lot to turning right. That was the only difference that came about the next day. And so, if you don't know, our campus sits right in the middle of two Motlow buildings. So it is just natural for us to partner because I've been part of Motlow so long, work with all these folks, and it's just always great. So we're always looking for ways that we can do that. So I want to share some of the things that we have been doing. One part of it, and this is part of our Give 2.0 grant, is that we annually now host all of the 8th graders in Warren County to come to our campus and Motlow's campus for a career awareness day, because we want to catch them before they make those decisions in high school about what track they need to do. So we bring them all in, let them see what all TCAT has, what all Motlow has, and make sure that they can make a better informed decision and know what's right there in their community for them to further their education and plant some seeds. Then another part is we try to take it to a different level, and we invite all of our educators in the area, our teachers, principals, directors of schools, and we have them come in the summer. We have an annual Educator in-Service Day, and they can come and do tours as well, because we know that students take their cues from the people that they know at the high schools. And so we want to get all those folks in there, and we bring them and show them what's there, because sometimes they've never been there, and it's hard for them to promote us as a good place to go for that student if they don't understand what we do. So we've also been hosting that. A third way, we've been doing this each summer. We have the student success groups at both TCAT McMinnville and Motlow to meet together, and we talk about other ways that we can partner, as well as we tour each other's facilities and new programs, because that's very important as well, is for our people that are talking to our students to know if they don't need to be at TCAT McMinnville, if they instead need to be at Motlow, then that's a win for all of us if we can get them to the right place, and vice versa. So it's really important, so we try to make sure we're also aware of each other's programming and what's going on there. And then a fourth way has to do with nursing. And as you know, I was here, I saw that a lot of people apply for the RN program, and not everyone is able to get in. So one of the things that we can offer for a student that was a very good student that just didn't make the few slots that were available, but they can possibly come to a TCAT and take the LPN, and there's an LPN summer bridge that will work to come back. So we're working to educate students who didn't make it into the nursing program for the RN at the beginning, that you can go and get your LPN, and then you can come back and transition and get back into the RN. So it's another alternative, and we know that we really need healthcare workers. So this is something I'm very pleased that we're trying to do, because we all know that in the rural areas especially, our healthcare workers come from our local places. So we really need to keep all of our slots full. We need to keep that pipeline going so we have good health care and enough people to provide it. So we're really excited that we're doing that. Now, I also have a video for you, and I want to tell you a little bit about this because I was very excited. It came totally from one of our faculty members, which you'll see in the video. He came up with an idea for a great high-impact practice on co-curricular activity. And he has a little challenge for other TCATs at the end, so we'll let you see what you think about it.
So what you just saw was a industrial robot, Sophronic, picking, placing pins. It's kind of normal what we teach students how to, robot programming. Initially, we come across a little challenge of 3D printing, which a lot of people are used to doing. Just an example, this is 3D printed. And the industrial maintenance guys wanted to get in the bigger competition with the rest of folks on campus. So our project was to build a robot. Now when I say that the students were building it, I'm keeping my hands off of it because the students will learn more that way. So this is the robot itself as far as we've got it completed. This is made by Chris Annan. It's an open source robot. He wants to keep it low cost and it's supposed to be free to be able to use any of the stuff as far as you making it. There's no licensing or anything you got to pay for. You don't have to get the metal components. You can't completely 3D print everything. There are some components that are 3D printed. The students didn't do that, but they're assembling it. They're learning their wiring skills and a lot of other things. I would touch more on that, but one of my students will talk about that in a minute. I would like to mention that this is starting to be a co-collaborative project amongst the school. I want to continue to use every program I can in this collaboration. Give you an example. A dual enrollment student at the high school in machine tool technology designed one of the 3D printed parts for this in AutoCAD or SolidWorks. Automotive helped press one of our bearing races in. Welding is going to help us build some of the other equipment for this. I'm not going to go into too big of a elaborate on that. I'm going to now turn this over to one of my students and I'll talk more in just a second.
My name is Rance McBride, and I'm in the Industrial Maintenance Program at Newville, Tennessee. And so our instructor Brian here, he came up with the idea for us to start building a robot out of parts that he's 3D printed and got online. And so me and another guy in the class, we've been putting this thing together piece by piece. Putting the motors in, learning about separate motors, learning how the actual machine gets put together rather than just programming it. And you learn a lot of motor control, a lot about stepper motors, a lot about soldering, wiring, wrapping wires, and just a lot of stuff, how to put the belts on, put the gears right, setting the gears right. And it's been a fun little project for us to do here.
Hello, I'm Randy England. I'm with TCAT McMillan. I'm the machine tool technology instructor. One of my students here, this is Tyler Hellman. Our class helped with this project that Brian brought before us. He wanted all the classes to have a hand in this robot, and so we've made some spacers and things for the belts. We've provided a lot of their taps and screws and all that kind of nature. But this is a collaboration, like I say, of all the classes. This is Brian's idea, Mr. Prince's idea, and he wanted everybody to have a touch to it. So like it's already been mentioned, automotive has touched it in different ones. And so we did our small part to it. We hope that there'll be other schools follow along and maybe follow what we've got started. Thank you.
So the students get to learn other skills they don't normally do all the time. This is them soldering. He's just about done with it. And what we would do with these guys when they do this part of soldering is they have to do this and then see if they can break it.
So CIT, we are helping to progress this by one, we are going to be using keystone jacks and terminating them for them to use to be able to connect this and program it properly. And also, at some point, we're also going to help with the programming aspect of it, just to help out. And also, we are even having one of our students one of my classmates in the program will be editing the video that we're sending you.
That's me.
So here's the big thing. I'm not going to tell you 100% what these students have decided what they want to do with this. It was my idea that I pitched to them. They're leading the show. I'm not putting my hands on it, just guiding them. So what have y'all got? Y'all want to compete with us? You want to show me what you can do? Because we'll show you what we can do.
All right, so hopefully we'll have some TCATs to take us up on it. He would like to see if there could be more of that. And they will continue to add all the programs. And I'm quite positive that even though we have programs like cosmetology and massage therapy, they will be doing something with that robot when it's over. Thank you.
Is there a next slide? There we go. Beginning with what's most important, and that's little people for me. Many of you don't know that I started off in special education with birth to 3-year-olds. That's where I started my education career. I was very interested in like little humans in cognitive development and their own motor skills and how that led to them being better prepared to combat literally the 3rd grade literacy prison to pipeline deal. But here's an example of a little human. I don't have permission to say her name or anything like that, but her mom works with us at the institution. And this is the grand opening of our aviation simulation laboratory in Bedford County. I anticipate that perhaps this will spark her to be engaged in career and technical education at some point. And maybe she'll be flying me around someplace with Southwest Airlines or United in the very near future. But one of the more memorable days, I have very few pictures in my office, and this one has made the mark. So next slide, please. We have some examples of excellence within the region and at Motlow State Community College, specifically the T-Mobile initiative, where during COVID, we were trying to figure out how do we close the gap? And it's a conversation that we're having across economic and community development, the Department of Labor, the technical colleges by structure and local engagement with business and industry have figured out some things that we attempt to scale, and we're trying to figure that out together, where they can close the gaps with employment and skill preparedness. I want us to also consider skill preparedness with the tools and devices and platforms that we utilize. So we're able to secure 2,200 mobile devices, Samsung A32 phones from T-Mobile for free. And what we utilized those phones for were homelessness, healthcare, and hunger. We preloaded those phones with applications that were our learning management system, as well as linkages to what was local and available at low cost. Remember when you can get a meal for $5, $3.50? Well, you can't do that anymore. But with connections in the business in our locale, we're able to ask students to use their ID cards with the phones and the apps, and they could go to places and get a meal for a decent rate. We also know that there are different kinds of behaviors that we exhibit when we're between the ages of 14 and 30. And so since we have lots of students in that age range, we thought it would be a good idea to connect them to healthcare facilities within the region. Then lastly, finding a place to live. Have you looked for a house recently? Probably not, because the prices have skyrocketed because of the economic and community development in the state. But the idea of young people finding a place that's affordable to live, we also link that in there. The faculty want to know this one. Well, is the learning management system on there? The student success folks want to know this one. Do we have wraparound services included in the device? So all of these things were available. The library for us serves as the hub of our institution, where we do training as well as giving out the phones. So the library also put together LibGuides for students to be able to use resources to assist them with educational preparedness and their own personal development. So we're really excited and proud of that T-Mobile partnership that helped our students be more successful during COVID. One of the statistics that came out of it, African American males were 6 percentage points higher, more likely to persist from semester to semester. We knew that it worked. It was COVID money, to call it COVID money, so we were unable to continue it. But we found something in the sauce that works, and we continue to try to create workarounds to replicate and recreate that opportunity for our students here. Next slide, please. Before I introduce the Metaversity, I want to introduce a couple of students that we have in the audience. Gabrielle Miller, would you stand, please? Please remain standing. Please remain standing. And Miriam Tanis. Please remain standing. As you can see, those of us who are within the system, if you're someone from the community and don't recognize, or if you're seeing this via stream, you don't recognize the red jackets, these are Skills USA participants. These are rock stars in the making. So if you're an industry person watching or industry person in the room, you should probably attempt to get their electronic CVs before you walk out of here. These are medal award winners in Skills USA competitions, both in the state and at the national level. So please give them a round of applause again. Thank you. And I would be remiss, because when you're a girl dad, it's really important that you show up. So dad's in the audience, and so I salute you. Thanks for being here. The Metaversity. About 4 years ago, I woke up at approximately 3:17 in the morning and had an idea to connect some things that I think we all talk about. We constantly talk about disparate systems and data linkages, and I'll call it neo-credentialing. That's an article I'm working on right now. It's called neo-credentialing, because new credentialing sounds a little pretentious. So this idea of Metaversity was, how do we take what we already have within our system and assist ourselves in connecting it, and most importantly, creating a portable place for students to carry their credentials. So people call it a digital wallet. I thought it was really cool, and I came up with the idea, and I said, Skills wallet, squalid. And it gets the same response every time I say it. So I figured that was probably not the way to go. And I see people shaking their head like, no, don't do that. So we went with what everyone was calling a digital wallet. So Motlow created in 5 months with support from the board, support from the Tennessee Higher Education Commission, support from our partners Dexterra and the Learning Economy Foundation, and most importantly, internally, our faculty, Melissa Paz, the mechatronics faculty and their students, and our CIO, Mr. Carlos Padilla, helped get this off the ground, and we built something in 5 months that is possibly ready to scale by going from last December with 1 student to this past May with 100 students, and we're just figuring out what we're going to do with it next. So I'm really excited that we were able to assist and support our students in a way that has allowed them to get hired at BASF and get promoted at BASF faster than anyone else. And also, aren't you tired of carrying around paper? I hope that you're in your mind saying yes, because I am. This is a place where we want to not only put your skills, but we also want you to carry your identification cards. It's secure, it's verifiable, it's on the blockchain, and I could talk on and on and on about it. So we want to show you an example of what it looks like and how it works. So for those of you looking at saying, what's happening? Some of you are asking that question. Imagine when you go onto any application and you click on it. And when we're talking about an educational portable application such as this, it actually verifies the credentials that you've earned. Motlow State serves as an issuer. We validate through our core competencies, goals, objectives through coursework and skill attainment that a student has earned this credential. That credential is then placed into a portable digital wallet such as this, and the student in real time, micro-credentialing along the way, as well as degree completion. So as we know, students sometimes start, stop, start again. We want to make sure that students can leave us at any given juncture with the credential and skill that is verified by us as the issuer, and it creates an opportunity for them to become gainfully employed during the interim basis of when they're looking for other and additional opportunities for employment within the region or within their local parentis. So that's the Metaversity. If you have other questions, we're happy to talk about it and give you over the examples of it working. We know at the state level, there's currently a conversation when we talk about credentials and moving credentials along that Dr. Heidi Lemming is leading. We're talking to state agencies such as the Department of Labor, Economic and Community Development, and the Department of Children and Youth Services. We see this as an opportunity to, as we talked about yesterday, connect and intertwine lots of the works and services that we offer. That's just one of the snippets of what we've been doing here lately. And lastly, we have Mr. Patrick Wade coming up. Thank you all so much.
So I'll tell you one thing about being the newbie. It's 9:35, so we're 5 minutes over for our presentation, so I'll make this very quick. Thank you guys so much, and Dr. Torrance, thank you for the hospitality. We're excited to share what's happened at TCAP Murfreesboro. Been in the role since January. Super excited about all the things and the opportunities that we have at our campus. One thing we'd like to share with you guys is we have the opportunity to have Bloomberg on campus. I don't know if you guys saw the video or the article, but they wanted to know about the skills trades. They wanted to know how we were going against and how we were increasing our enrollment and things of that nature. So they did a very good video that we would like to share with you right now.
Everything that they touch, everything they do every single day is related to preparing them for that job. So when students get to industry, they are ready to hit the ground running.
This is the Smyrna, Tennessee campus of the Tennessee College of Applied Technology, or TCAT, where classrooms look like auto body shops and assembly plants. In 2014, the state made its community colleges and technical schools like the TCATs tuition-free for high school graduates. A few years later, they expanded that effort even further to older adults. Now, with EVs at the heart of the most ambitious U.S. industrial policy since World War II, with over $100 billion being invested into the electric car industry, these classrooms act as a blueprint for what might have to happen to sort the countrywide worker shortage in America. This college, for example, was opened in 2017 in partnership with Nissan, which makes its Leaf electric cars nearby. Across the state, at a new Ford plant slated to open in 2025, the state is building a new TCAT campus on site to feed the demand for workers.
As far as workforce training, we could potentially start training tomorrow if somebody asked us today. Everything can be customized to whatever the company needs it to be.
But even with big company involvement, and Tennessee planning to pump nearly $1 billion into TCATs like this, big challenges remain. Its labor force participation rate is in the bottom 10 of U.S. states.
It pretty much gives me the options of doing anything in the body shop, which makes me more valuable and more money.
And making more is a potential selling point for this college, as it tries to get the average high school graduate to join against the stigma of working a factory job, with the promise of a proper education.
And then throughout your trimesters, you actually do math work and stuff. It teaches you more about what you're actually doing, instead of just doing it without knowing what you're actually doing. Tell me has been to college ever, and I was like, oh, like I want something that like makes good money and like you won't like see girls doing, you know.
So we were very excited. It happened on, they were here with us on June 8th and 9th. The article was released on July 6th. It was a collaborative effort with Mr. Rick Locker, Matthew Gann, also Dr. Sisk helped us out with that. But our students and our faculty and our staff, I tell you what, they thoroughly enjoyed it. It was thousands of pictures taken, hours of videos taken, and our students were so proud to share what they do every day and how they're going to be more prepared for the workforce. So we were super excited about that. Next slide, please. The next thing that we do want to share about is we have a Ready to Walk. That is something that has been jump-started a couple of years now, but it is rocking and rolling. Every trimester for the students that are getting ready to graduate, we send them to Ready to Walk. It's a week of activities. During midweek, they do resume writing, they do interview skills, and they also do financial management. We have a partnership with our American Job Center next door. So they come over and they actually do those trainings for us. And then on Friday, we concluded with a job fair. This last time, we had over 60 employers that actually came to the job fair. They are wanting to meet our students. They are wanting to get connected with our students. Some of them are actually asking, can you start work tomorrow? But we tell them they can, but we can co-op them so they can finish their education while they're with us. But they're getting connected with them early, and it's a game changer for our students. We had over half of our student body actually attend the job fair. And right now, we're looking to grow. Mr. Hopkins and Ms. Cheryl Williams, they are the pivotal point behind that. So Ready to Walk is something that's really getting kicked off, and we're super excited about that as well. And then finally, we don't want to do a spotlight. We have a student here that's in person. Mr. Nick, would you mind to stand for us? So a little bit about Nick. He is in our machine tool class. He is from California. He actually has an associate's degree from California in machining, and now he is here. He was going through his education in California during COVID. So he was not able to get a lot of hands-on experience. So he is here and he is rocking it out. We'd like to share a few words of what his instructor said about him. I don't know if you know this exactly. He's nervous now, Mr. Mike Schoen. Nick is the type of person that is just not satisfied to make a good grade, but wants to know why he missed so he doesn't miss it again, and also all the information behind it. He is always, and he said always, helping his classmates. When he sees them struggling, without being asked, he goes and assists them. Anytime we give him special projects, he is always ready to take on the challenge. He has a great work ethic, which is absolutely good for you to get a job, my friend. And he is the type of person who will excel inside any company that hires him. And he said that you are a rock star, and he is glad that you are with us. So, Nick, great job, my friend. So as I said, been there since January, but I'll tell you, TCAP Murfreesboro has been rocking and rolling since I've been there. That's what we always like to say. We have some of our staff over there, Ms. Jennifer Fuchs, Mr. Daniel Owens, Dr. Doug Heffington, Mr. Jeff Hopkins, and Ms. Cheryl Williams. As I tell people, and I tell during our staff meetings, and I tell the community, if you want to know what our secret sauce is, just come to campus. Our secret sauce is our students and the people that do the work every single day. So thank you guys, and TCAP Murfreesboro is ready to assist. Thank you.
Well, as you can see, I guess comparatively, we're one of what I call the six dissected parts of Tennessee, because people say east, middle, and west. I think there is southwest, northwest, southern middle, northern middle, northeastern, such and such, right? And we're just a part of the hub. And as a ball bearing in that hub, this is how this team works together to meet the needs of industry, to meet the needs of the K through 12s and LEAs, and to support the ongoing motifs and mission and value sets that we have, the system, student success, workforce development, and community development. Thank you all for joining us this morning. We're excited that you've had an opportunity to do this work with us. We're pleased to do it on behalf of you and honored to do it on behalf of the communities that we serve. We'll conclude the presentation, and I'm sure the board's about to conduct the rest of its business for the day. Thank you all so much.
Can you take the chairs with us? Yeah. All right.
Good morning, everyone. We will call the quarterly meeting of the Tennessee Board of Regents to order. And once again, thanks to Dr. Torrance and our three TCATs, Murfreesboro, McMinnville, and Shelbyville, who have done such a tremendous job of hosting us yesterday and today. Your hospitality, and more importantly, the work you do means so much to us. Dr. Torrance in his presentation referenced the importance of team. And this is obviously very much a team effort between these colleges and between all of our schools. And we thank you for what you do each and every day. We are running a bit of an abbreviated meeting today, and we will provide information on a situation that has arisen toward the close of this meeting. So once again, we ask for, just as we did yesterday, your support and consideration as we rearrange this agenda slightly today, but take care of important pieces of business that need to be conducted, including hearing from two special guests who have arrived here to spend time with us this morning. And with that, Chancellor, thank you for everything, and I will turn the floor over to you for your report.
Thank you very much. Well, we are so fortunate today to have a partner and a friend with us to give us an update on what is happening with the Department of Labor. So, Dr. Denise Thomas, if I could call on you to come and give a report to us and a great update, and we are so thankful that you have traveled to be with us today.
Good morning. It is an honor to be with you this morning, to the board, to Chancellor. Thank you for the invitation, for an opportunity to speak to our partnerships. Our hearts are certainly with you today, and out of respect for your agenda and the events today, we will provide an overview as quickly as we can, because we are always here if there are additional conversations are needed. As Chancellor alluded to, I stand with gratitude to the Board of Regents, to the TCATs and community colleges for the amazing partnerships that we've had, not just today, but there has been standing partnerships for a very long time. And I'm grateful for that, and we're hopeful with some of the things that we'll share today, we can continue to talk about the work that's being done at the department and how we can continue to galvanize our partnerships moving forward. Next slide, please. Most folks know our department simply by workforce services and workforce development that we do, but we're a little larger than just that alone. And all of these pieces really work together to support workforce here in Tennessee. And so, yes, we operate in partnership with our local workforce boards, the American Job Centers, but there are pieces behind that that really strengthen our ability to serve not just Tennesseans that are looking for their next, but also for the employer communities that are looking for a very viable workforce, a workforce that is trained. And again, the role that TBR plays is so instrumental in that. And so we also have our adult education division that folks are still a little shocked that, like, labor has adult education. We do. We work to get adult students their high school equivalency so that they can go on and participate actively in such a vibrant economy here in Tennessee. But to do that, it's critical that they are getting the training, and there are so many examples that come to mind with how the TCATs play a role in these students, that while they're matriculating for their high school equivalency, they're also enrolled in the TCATs and getting skills and getting certificates that they can use in a stackable manner so that they can go on and take advantage of careers. I'm not going to really go into detail about a lot of them, even though unemployment insurance was all that was talked about during the pandemic. We're past that phase, thank God. So we're not going to go back there. But it's important to know with the claimants that it's more than just getting these people a benefit. It's rapidly reconnecting them to work. And so when we look at our claimants that are receiving some sort of benefit, we are connecting them to your institutions to say, here's a path to get back, get trained, go back to work. We know when we apply rapid reemployment opportunities for those students or for those adults, they go back to work on an average 2.5 weeks faster than if they were just collecting unemployment benefits without getting the additional career exploration and training. Next slide. So I want to talk to you about some things that are fairly new with the department that I hope are exciting, as exciting to you as it is for us. One is our last budget cycle. We were able to secure $5 million for our summer youth employment program. Historically, this has already always been baked into our department, but funding had not allowed it. And so we were able to get state funding to relaunch our summer youth employment program. I believe Dr. Torrance alluded to the little humans and how important they are. We know getting young folks attached to modeling, seeing, demonstrating work is so very important. And so we are working to help youth between 14 and 24 get to work, not just over the summer. This program has expanded since the slide, but for work experience all throughout the year. Our hopes is that even if they begin to work during the summer, they make a connection with an employer that leads to work experience. They can get the mentorship they need. They work, they train, they start to get excited about actually working and earning income and knowing what that pathway could be for them. And so our goal is to serve roughly 3,700 youth. I think this number has since gone up. We will be rolling this out in a larger way this upcoming summer. Last year was sort of our infrastructure building year, and so we look forward to partnering with you and hope that this gets students excited about hopefully ending up in your institutions one day. Next slide. I don't really need to spend a lot of time here. You know and live apprenticeship as we do. As you know, we were able to establish the Office of Apprenticeship in Labor. It's a couple of years old. We're so excited about apprenticeship and the role that TBR has played in that. Our goal is to have every single institution as a sponsor, because we know you play such a critical part both in the training and also helping employers understand and navigate the role of apprenticeship. Since this slide was done, and it's probably been a month, we have now surpassed that number, and we are at an all-time high for apprentices in our state. We're a little shy of 8,500 apprentices. And as you know, Tennessee was a late starter to the game, but once we got in the game, we start scoring points immediately. And so we're so excited about our apprenticeship program. We're going to continue to expand. We've recently been awarded an apprenticeship expansion grant that will allow us to really delve into some key sectors where apprenticeship is needed. One will be healthcare. We want to go all in healthcare. Chancellor Tidings, which is a part of our apprenticeship council, our next meeting will focus solely on how Tennessee can not just join other states that are doing nursing apprenticeships and long-term care facilities of the like, but we want to even go beyond that. And so we're going to really focus our efforts here in late fall on how we can get healthcare apprenticeships up and going. And as you know, we have apprentices all across the spectrum, from a winemaker apprenticeship to being the first in the country with a teacher apprenticeship. We are doing great work in that space, and we continue to build. So our Apprenticeship Tennessee team is a shared team, and they are very familiar with a lot of the campuses here, and we'll continue to work cooperatively with the Board of Regents as we expand our footprint. Next slide. I want to highlight youth and apprenticeship here just for a second. We've talked about summer youth, and we've talked about how important it is to get our young people touching, seeing, and feeling work, but not just doing it sporadically, but we want structured employment opportunities for our youth. And that is youth apprenticeship. And it's still, not in our state, but it shocks folks across the country when we talk about we have registered youth apprenticeships in Tennessee. We have youth that are they're getting their touch points in secondary, and they're actually taking part in an apprenticeship. And they're coming out as journeymen at 21 and 22 years old, fully self-reliant. They're not on anyone's couch in the basement. They're working, they're providing for themselves, and they're using that opportunity to say, what do I need to do to go back, perhaps matriculate, get a 4-year degree? And so registered apprenticeships is something that, as we continue to tackle that, we're going to put a specific focus on youth apprenticeships, that we want our young people to be able to have a structured pathway. Next slide. With that, as we talked about other units within labor and other divisions, one is our workplace regulation and compliance. And our child labor consultative services are so important. Now, how does this really fit in with workforce development? For so long, we have a regulatory function, and we would have to go in and cite those that were not following the rules around child labor laws. But we decided not just to be punitive, but we can be more productive if we added a consultative piece to that, to actually go in and help employers understand what young people can actually do at work. so that they didn't shy away from hiring youth or getting them into apprenticeships because they were worried about getting in trouble. As my predecessor said, Dr. McCord, is that it's a much better conversation when we're not getting them in trouble. We're actually talking to them about the potential of a young workforce. And there are a lot of myths still out there about, well, a 15-year-old can't do this. Our consultative services allows our folks to go in, sit down, talk to employers, find out what it is they want the youth to do, and they can clear the pathway for them so it's not an impediment to have these young folks hired. And so we've added the number of consultants across the state, and they're going in and doing just that and talking to businesses. We've seen that this is helping to get more young people working and helping to get more in apprenticeships because they're not necessarily worried about the trouble aspect. Next slide. Going back to adult education, I want to stop and rest here just for a second. I know, and I'm not sure if the folks from TCAT Knox are here, but I call this example to mind because we were working with students there that were getting there, that had gone through our program, and they were in the allied health careers, and they were getting stuck on math. We were having students having issues with math. And what we found was that we didn't necessarily to train them on calculus, but they needed to understand how to measure doses of medicine. And so in the partnership with TCAT Knoxville and our adult education providers, they were able to come up with dosage math remediation. And we're able to help these students work on their math skills, but as it pertained to the function that they would be doing each and every day. And it helped get a lot more students through the pipeline. And those are the kind of partnerships that I want to highlight, because this is what happens when we innovate together as partners and find out where those impediments are and how we work through them. And with our adult education program, we're going all in on pre-apprenticeships. We've talked about the value of apprenticeships where most folks are not ready to take on a structured 2, 3, or 4-year program. So our adult education team will be working more on pre-apprenticeships, which is a readiness component. Around literacy, around some of the skills, the workplace skills, the durable skills we hear so much about. College prep courses. It's not just the high school equivalency alone. It's getting our students ready for anything that pertains to their careers. And so just want you to know adult education is more than a piece of paper. It's all things that pertain to workforce development. Next slide. The last thing I'll talk about on adult education is that in our state, traditionally, the way to get your high school equivalency has been the HiSET. And when we look at our numbers over the course of the last several years, we are not producing the number of students getting their HiSET equivalency as we should. What does that mean? That means that really restricts the throughput to our community colleges, to our technical colleges, and to our universities. And so we've been working with the State Board of Education to widen the funnel and to come up with alternative ways to get a high school equivalency in our state. We're not compromising rigor. That's not what we're proposing. But we are saying there are more ways to get your high school equivalency. We know there are roughly 450,000 Tennesseans without a high school diploma in our state. A lot of these folks are working, but a lot of them are working beneath their potential. Are we telling the folks that have been able to work that they don't have value? That's surely not what we're saying. But we're finding ways to take the work that they've done, to take the knowledge that they do have, and purpose that in such a way that they can get their equivalency so they can go on to post-secondary. And so we've been working very closely with State Board of Education. We're hoping our next meeting is in November, that we can get this out into the Tennessee public. So stay tuned. We'll certainly make sure that this board is notified once we have that done. We think that will help significantly increase the number of folks that are able to get their high school equivalency and get on to post-secondary. Next slide. Lastly, I'll leave you with our Office of Reentry, which was also established in the department around the same time the Office of Apprenticeship. And this work has been so critical. I don't need to tell this group how important it is to make sure that those re-entering our communities have an opportunity, not just for a job, but for a career. It is critical. It is vital. So our Office of Reentry has been working tirelessly to make sure that we are going in behind walls and ensuring that we can provide workforce development opportunity for folks before they are released. We know the impact it has on recidivism. We know the impact it has on families when they can support themselves and be present. During the pandemic, we were not able to go behind walls in the county jails to offer adult education classes for obvious reasons. And so using funding at the time from the CARES Act, We were able to procure tablets that are allows those students to continue to work on high school diploma or workforce preparedness courses. We were able to get some funding from the General Assembly to purchase tablets, so we have tablets in almost all of our county jails across the state. And not only are they working on their high school equivalency, again, they're working on work preparation course, behavioral rehabilitation courses. There's a library inside of the tablet. Our hope is that we can expand that they can actually get virtual instruction from our TBR institutions so that they can work on apprenticeship readiness courses. This was a great plan for Tennessee. We've seen it take off. We've talked all across the country about how this is working for us. But more importantly, we think that it is expediting the path back to work for those that are leaving incarceration at the county jails. And so stay tuned. Lots of exciting things happening in the Office of Reentry. I believe that is my last slide. And so again, I just want to thank the Board of Regents again for your support. It's been almost a year since I've been in this role. It feels like so much longer than that, but in a good way. There's lots happening with workforce development, but we could not do it alone. It is by nature a collaborative. Workforce development challenges are large enough that it takes all of us at the table. And Chancellor, I just want to publicly thank you for the innovation, the things that we have done and the things that we will do in the innovation space to keep making sure that Tennessee, our workforce is competitive and we continue the economic development activity that we've had in the past. And with that, I'm not sure if there's questions, but I will yield at this time.
Why do you two turn and look at me?
Just expect a question.
Actually, comment. Congratulations, Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you so much.
I did have one question.
Sure.
On the summer
I knew it was coming. It was coming.
On the summer youth program, you indicated that it's administered, or the note says it's administered by partner organizations. Who are the partner organizations? Or just, I don't need all of them, but just what kind? How is that structured?
Yes, so our local workforce boards are a part of that effort, but also United Way. We're actually working with the city of Chattanooga was one. So again, because it's state funding, July 1 was kind of the startup, so it was abbreviated. The goal is we've already created a procurement that will go out to work with, we're really interested in nonprofits. To work with them. There's fidelity. They're already in the community. They are serving these kids perhaps in a different way. And so it makes sense that we'll expand it to them because not every, especially youth, they don't walk through the doors of American Job Centers. They're in community. And so we need to be where they are. And so those are just a couple, but we're hoping to expand that list come summer.
Here's the question I thought Regent Gill might ask, Commissioner. And that is, no, on a serious note, for those who may still be, as you reference, sitting on the couch in the basement at home, how do we continue to find those folks and get them back into school, back into the workforce? What's the key?
I think part of it is what I mentioned, is being in community. I think our mode of service delivery for so long has been inside of our walls in our career centers. And so the message that we're actually sharing within labor is that we're going to get up and we're going to get out and we're going to go find them. I don't think we can afford to just wait and hope people trickle in or they get the message. We have to go out. We have our local boards that are actually serving in public housing areas. So partnering with Human Services, for example, Commissioner Carter is doing great work on those that are receiving some type of government benefit that are not connected to work. He and I are partnering together along with Chancellor Tidings on how do we be present and find them there. And sharing data is key. We don't always know where they are, but whoever of us knows, we have to share the data and align our services because we don't want disparate services because that hurts as well. We want to make sure if they come through labor's door that we're providing a path to say you need to go to a TCAT or community college and vice versa. And so one, I think, is serving in community. Two, I think, is sharing the data. And three, I think, is continuing to align our services so that we don't have the cracks where folks drop out and we go through this all over again.
Thank you. Thanks for all you're doing.
Absolutely.
And I will channel our Regent, Mary Lou Apple, who could not be with us today. But yesterday, she's a former president here at Motlow State. And yesterday she made the observation how pleased she was that you were coming to be with us, that in previous years, not only were we not able to connect the dots, as you just referenced, between us and your agency and others, we didn't even know there were dots. So with the groundwork that Jeff McCord laid, and now with your leadership, we thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
I just want to thank you as well, Commissioner Thomas, for being here with us today. And as she alluded to, between she and Commissioner Carter, we've got some big, big plans, and we hope to see those come to fruition this next year.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Commissioner, I'll say the same thing I said to you when you were in Kingsport a few weeks ago, that I've heard all that you've said before by your predecessor. You just do a lot better job of saying it.
Did you hear that, Jeff? No, I'm kidding.
He's back there flipping me a bird right now.
Thank you, Miles. Thank you.
All right, well, next on our agenda, again, we are jumping around just a little bit, but I'm going to ask Dr. Chris Whaley to please come to the podium. He has a special announcement that he'd like to make today.
Good morning. Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, Chancellor, it is truly an honor for me. Sorry, my head's not quite in the game. I'll get there. It's truly an honor for me today to recognize Dr. Foster Chasen, who is a dear, dear friend of mine and a mentor, and I will say that in many ways, he is the heart and soul of student athletics in the TBR system. And as I speak, I would invite him to come on up here for just a moment. He is here with his lovely and wonderful wife, Carol. Carol, good morning. And with your permission, I would like to read a resolution in appreciation for the service of Dr. Foster Chasen, if that's all right. Whereas Dr. Foster Chasen has more than 50 years of service, 50 years of service with the Tennessee Board of Regents system, first with East Tennessee State University as a student worker and assistant coach in the 1970s, and then as a faculty member and administrator at Chattanooga State, vice president and athletics director at Walter State, and most recently, of course, the commissioner of the Tennessee Community College Athletic Association. And whereas Dr. Chasen received his bachelor's and master's degree as well as his teacher certification from ETSU before earning his doctorate of arts from MTSU in 1984, and whereas he has been named Eastern Division Coach of the Year, Outstanding Young Man of the Year, as well as Phi Theta Kappa Distinguished Administrator, a two-time recipient of the Teacher of the Year Award at Chattanooga State, as well as receiving the National Institute for Staff and Organizational Development, NISOD, Teaching Excellence Award, and the NISOD Master Teacher Award. And whereas Dr. Chasen was the first basketball coach at Chattanooga State to have a 20-win season, the first coach to have a team ranked in the top 10 nationally, accomplishments, by the way, that led to his own induction into the TCCAA Hall of Fame in 2013, and he oversaw the addition of volleyball, soccer, cross country, half marathon, golf teams at various institutions. And whereas over his career, Dr. Chasen taught dozens of courses, provided leadership in multiple subject areas, developed innovative team teaching courses, he helped lead study abroad opportunities, taking students to more than 12 countries. And whereas he served in numerous capacities, including as a faculty senate president, as college spokesperson, to the General Assembly, Fellowship of Christian Athletes leader, chair of TBR Student Affairs Subcouncil on 2 separate occasions, and whereas Dr. Chasen led the implementation of the Tennessee Community College Athletic Association into the Board of Regents, he oversaw the induction of 12 TCCAA Hall of Fame recipients, has had 2 awards renamed in his honor, including the International Lyceum at Walter State, and the TCCAA All Sports Award, which is named in his honor very appropriately. And whereas he exhibited physical responsibility and a future-focused mindset during his service that allowed for the development of new policies and procedures at the institutional and at the conference levels, enhancing coaching staffs for all sports, and the creation of an assistant commissioner position that has enhanced TCCAA's online presence, And whereas he will surely be missed by his colleagues, faculty, staff, students, community leaders, and alumni, now therefore it be resolved that the presidents express their sincere appreciation to Dr. Foster Chasen for his contributions and his leadership to the Tennessee Community College Athletic Association and to our entire system, and we certainly wish him the very best in his retirement the 22nd day of September 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to honor this fine gentleman. And with your permission, may I ask Dr. Chasen to come to the podium?
For over 4 decades, I watched people come up here and receive a similar award at these meetings, and at no time did I ever envision standing here as a recipient. So thank you, Dr. Whaley. Our thoughts and prayers are with Dr. Montague and her family. Actually, the last photos I have in terms of athletic awards is with Dr. Montague presenting the baseball and softball awards at Volunteer State this past spring. I'm honored, I'm humbled, and I'm the most blessed man in the world. I'm kind of like the Chris Christopherson song, Why Me, Lord? Because I can't think of anything I've ever done to receive the blessings that I've had from TBR and the TCCAA presidents. 57 years ago in 2 weeks today, I entered what would become the TBR system. The training school at ETSU was training people to teach. So I was in the education department at ETSU in 1966, or what would become part of TBR, where they taught people to do their student teaching because so many didn't have cars. So TBR never got rid of me after that, and I don't know what the problem has been, because I had a variety of positions that they kept trying to find something that I could do. I've been blessed to work with numerous colleagues over the years, and ran into one in the hallway, Dr. Ingram, the first president here at Motlow, was the president at Motlow when I was coaching at Chattanooga State, and I've been blessed to work with all of the regents, in the system, and all of the board staff over the years, and what a blessing it has been to watch friends and colleagues move into leadership positions. All the presidents who've moved up, being here, Dr. Ashford, Dr. Wise, Dr. Whaley, Dr. Torrance, I've been able to come and watch them progress and become great leaders in the system. And I've been humbled and blessed to be a part not only of athletics, but to be a part of watching students transform their lives. And there's no greater blessing than to literally watch someone move and what they've become. And I've seen our student athletes become physicians, lawyers, superintendents of schools, accountants, therapists, teachers, coaches. About everything you can think of has had a TCCAA student athlete, including the first African American police captain in a major city. As we look, and I always like to think of any time I go to a meeting, what's a nugget I could leave with? And I would like to leave you all with some nuggets that you may not be aware of about the community college athletic system that you help support, because this award actually goes to the board and to the presidents. Nothing that I did, because without the board approval and the president's leadership, this would have never taken place. 65%, over 65% of the TCCAA student athletes graduate in 2 years. The standards for measurement are typically for 3 years, but for eligibility purposes, they have to graduate in 2 years. Over 70% transfer on scholarship to continue their athletic and educational careers. An additional 10 to 15% transfer as students. Now, where are they transferring to? They transfer to virtually every state's institution and university, as well as the UT system, every SEC school, University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, Ohio State, Penn State, Maryland, Texas, Texas Tech, Virginia Tech, Cal State, Washington State, just to name a few. So in terms of the goals and objectives set forth by the board of graduation, transfer, and moving forward, the athletic programs of the TCCAA are actually performing that in an exceptional manner. Former student athletes are also entrepreneurs in creating their own businesses and being highly successful in utilizing the degrees that they received through the TBR institutions. Some things to note: the first women's national championship in women's basketball was from a TCCAA institution in the state of Tennessee. It's the only public college in Tennessee with a national championship in baseball. The only college in Tennessee with a national championship in softball. The second college with a national championship in golf. The first was MTSU in 1965. It has the winningest women's basketball coach in NJCAA history, with the coach has 1,009 wins and 281 losses. It's the only institution to send all sports to the national tournament in the same year twice. The only coach to send both men's and women's basketball, coaching both teams, to the national tournament in the same year. 9 NJCAA Hall of Fame inductees and 3 inductees into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. Some noted, just a handful or a couple of noted players. This young man's mother was a teenager who had a traumatic first date. She didn't want her parents to know she was pregnant, and so she put her child in an orphanage. He went to the orphanage, was adopted. They brought him back because of a respiratory disease. He was adopted again. They brought him back, and because he had colic, he was adopted again, finished high school, went to a local community college, and wanted to be a part of a baseball team, and he was allowed to do so. He would take his guitar and play on the bus while the team traveled. He would end up being the 2006 Country Music Male New Male Vocalist of the Year. Another student, a young man, played college basketball, had to quit, joined the military. 53 years later, he wanted to complete his education. So at age 73, he attended a community college, was on the basketball team, participated, and got his degree. So looking at the table, all of you all have eligibility left. There's another young man who never played basketball in high school, graduated high school, went into the Air Force, played on the Air Force pickup games, thought when he got out, he came to a local community college, tried out for the basketball team, made it, ended up transferring then to MTSU and becoming an all-OVC player and still holds a number of records. This young lady was not accepted by her university, so she went to Tennessee Community College. She ended up leading the nation in wins, earned run average, striking out over 2 batters an inning on average. She would also lead the nation in home runs. She would go on, it wasn't an Olympic year, she played in the university games, won 2 games, one of them a no-hitter against Argentina. We have the only national champion golf medalist in the state of Tennessee. We have the only All-American who was offered to play in the Patriot All-American game that honors men who lost their life in service, and it's All-American golfers from around the world. And the only one was from a Tennessee community college. The women's basketball player scored 65 points in one game, a tournament game, and she became the only player drafted into the WNBA from a 2-year institution in history. Last year, there was highly publicized about a pitcher at UT breaking having the fastest fastball pitched in a game at 105 miles an hour. One thing they left out, the year before, he was in the TCCAA. She went to a local community college and only for the opportunity to play 5-on-5 basketball. And she was successful. She went on to the University of Georgia, where she became the first female All-American at the University of Georgia. She was an academic All-American. She became the first woman who was a Division I men's basketball assistant coach. She became the first African American coach in women's basketball coach in the SEC. And her start from Philadelphia, Tennessee, was at a local community college. So I hope that gives you just an idea of that you leave with a little bit of a nugget on what is the board and the TCCAA presidents. And the blessing for me is I've witnessed all of this. What a blessing to watch these students transform their lives and be productive citizens, represent the state. So if you ever wonder, are what we doing? Is it working? Is it paying off? And this is just the tip of the iceberg of what TBR and the TCCA presidents are allowing. This year, Pellissippi State offered athletics for the first time, and this week they had the first cross-country National Runner of the Week for this year. So even starting out, we're doing great. And then the last blessing that's also attached with TBR and athletics, the greatest blessing to me is my wife, Carol, who was also associated with TBR, and we met through athletics. So I thank you for the recognition, Dr. Whaley, and the real award goes to you as the regents and the TCCA presidents, and I was just honored to be here. And thank you so very much.
Foster, thank you so much for your service to our system and all that you've done, and the millions of students that you have helped over the years. Will always truly be grateful to you. You've left some really huge shoes to fill, and we're not real sure what we're going to do because you have led the charge for so long. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor. Thank you, Dr. Chasen. You kept using the word blessing, of how many blessings you have had in your life. My goodness, what a blessing Dr. Chasen has been to TBR. We are so grateful. And not only did you give us incredible nuggets of our own history, I learned so many things from Dr. Chasen's remarks, but you gave us nuggets on how to live our life. And that is to be a servant to others. And we thank you very much. Once again, to Dr. Foster Chasen, thank you. Since we are a little bit out of order this morning, and we have heard the Chancellor's report, we will now move into the action items before us today. And with that, I would like to call on Secretary Perry to please call the roll.
Governor Lee, Regent Apple, Regent Burdine.
Here.
Regent Garten.
Here.
Regent Gentile.
Here.
Regent George.
Here.
Regent Gill.
Here.
Commissioner Hatcher.
Here.
Regent Hooper.
Here.
Regent Kastner.
Here.
Regent Pilkington. Here. Regent Powers.
Here.
Madam Chair Reynolds.
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds. Regent Roberts.
Here.
Regent Spurgeon.
Here.
Regent Barlin.
Here.
And Regent White.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Before I move to the approval of the minutes, I have one mistake I need to correct yesterday, and the mistake was mine. Our new student regent, Layla Garten, should have corrected me in the meeting, but she is much too polite. When I reintroduced her yesterday to us, I noted that she was a student at Volunteer State. I was wrong. I had Sumner County in my head because that is where she resides. But she is, in fact, an excellent student in our TCAT Nashville. So I want to set the record straight, and I want to thank Dr. Nathan Garrett for not jumping out of his chair and correcting me in the middle of the meeting, but my apologies. So we're just proud you're part of our system. Thank you, Layla. Thank you very much. With that, we have minutes before us from June 16, our regular quarterly meeting, and then two special called meetings, July 13 and August 15. Those, of course, were provided to us before the meeting, but does anyone have any changes or corrections to those minutes? If not, you may recall that given the routine nature of these minutes and their non-controversial nature, we can approve these by unanimous consent. If anyone would prefer to have an actual vote, feel free to object, in which case we would have a roll call vote. But hearing no objections, the minutes of June 16, July 13, and August 15 board meetings are adopted. Thank you very much. Our second item is the Chancellor's Interim action report. Chancellor, what would you like for the board to know?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The interim action report was included in the materials made available to all board members prior to our meeting today. This report constitutes a record of business transacted by the Office of the Chancellor since the previous quarterly meeting of the board. Madam Chair, pending any questions, I recommend the board's approval of the report of interim action.
Any questions for Chancellor? If not, once again, a non-controversial and routine item, I would propose that we confirm this and ratify it by unanimous consent. But if there are any objections, we could certainly have a roll call vote. Hearing none, the interim action report is confirmed. Thank you all. Let's move to our report of our committee work that we did yesterday. And we're going to take the first four and have a roll call vote on the approval of those four in an effort to efficiently manage our time. Finance and personnel will require roll call votes. Regent Apple, as you all know, has traveled today and was not able to be with us. So let me begin with the report of Academic Policies and Programs Student Life Committee from yesterday. Of course, we met yesterday in a public informational session and reviewed the following items. Proposed revisions to a TBR policy with regard to the approval of academic programs, units, and modifications. Proposed revisions to the TBR policy regarding early post-secondary opportunities, and proposed revisions to TBR policy with regard to learning support. The committee also excuse me, approved the proposed new AAS in distilled spirits at the Nearest Green Academy of Distilling by Motlow State Community College. They also heard proposed program terminations, modifications, new technical program implementations for TCATs, and the proposed fusion of the TCATs Crossville and Livingston. The committee approved annual institutional mission profiles that are sent to THEC. We heard a robust report on the expanding our understanding of student success with a good dialogue that followed. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes the report of yesterday's meeting of the Committee on Academic Policies and Programs and Student Life. With that, I will call on Chairman Varlin. Well, unless there are any additions or corrections from committee members. And hearing none, Chancellor Varlin, the Committee on External Affairs, please.
Chancellor Varlin, so I've moved up.
Oh, Chancellor Varlin, I just gave you a promotion.
The External Affairs Committee met in public session yesterday to review reporting on the following items: special session update, legislative primer, presentation, and legislative priorities. Madam Chair, this concludes my report of the Committee on External Affairs, and I make a motion to approve.
Oh, thank you. We're going to hold the motion till we get through all four, but thank you for thinking ahead.
I wasn't thinking that.
Any questions for Danny? Hearing none. Chairman George, your Workforce Development Committee, please, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The report on the Committee of the Workforce Development meeting was on September 21st, 2023. The Workforce Development Committee met in public session yesterday to review reporting on the following items: define workforce development, THEC reporting cycle, and the Community College Workforce Hours of Preliminary Report, Blue Oval City Update. Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. Brief report, but a good discussion. We thank you very much. And finally, to Chairman Burdine for your Audit Committee report from August 29.
Thank you, ma'am. The Audit Committee met on regular session on 29 August 2023 to review and recommend approval of the following items: federal audits, external reviews, and internal audit reports, system-wide internal audit updates, fiscal year 2023 internal audit year and status reports, fiscal year 2024 internal audit plans, results of the external quality assurance review, revisions to TBR policy internal audit, Audit Committee and internal audit charters, Audit Committee responsibilities, 2A standards, and conflict of interest management plan. Madam Chair, this concludes my report on the 29 August 2023 Audit Committee meeting.
Thank you, sir. Any comments for Regent Burdine? Hearing none. Ms. Varlin, We are ready for a vote to approve the four committee reports, please.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, ma'am. We have a motion. We need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Miles. Any discussion? Hearing none, we simply require a voice vote on these. Is that correct? So, all in favor of approving the four committee reports, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Chairman White, the report from Finance and Business, please, sir.
I like that Chairman White part. The committee report before you includes a recommendation to approve the addition of a non-mandatory lab fee at TCAT Pulaski for their basic dental assisting program. In addition, the fiscal year 24-25 legislative priorities budget request was presented as an informational item. And finally, one policy revision was recommended for the approval on the consent agenda. As committee chair, I move the board approve the report of September 21, 2023 meeting of the Committee on Finance and Business Operations, which includes one non-mandatory fee recommendation, the fiscal year 24-25 legislative priorities budget request as an informational item, and the policy revision as presented.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Tom with regard to the Finance Committee? We have a motion from the committee. We need a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Regent George. Any discussion? The Finance Committee does require a roll call vote. Mariah?
Regent Burdine.
Aye.
Regent Garten.
Aye.
Regent George.
Aye.
Regent Gill.
Aye.
Commissioner Hatcher.
Aye.
Regent Hooper.
Aye.
Regent Kastner.
Aye.
Regent Pilkington.
Aye.
Regent Powers.
Aye.
Madam Chair Reynolds.
Aye.
Regent Spurgeon.
Aye.
Regent Varlin.
Here, aye.
And Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Chair Powers, Personnel and Compensation, please, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Personnel and Compensation Committee met on Thursday, September 21, to review and recommend approval of the following items. 1, tenure and promotion recommendation for a community college. 2, promotion recommendation for a Tennessee College of Applied Technology. 3, corresponding faculty promotion increases for a community college and TCAT. 4, housing allowance increase for presidents. And 5, executive incentive payments. As committee chair, I move that the board approve the report of the September 21, 2023 meeting of the Committee on Personnel and Compensation as presented.
I'll second it.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, this too requires a roll call vote.
Regent Burdine.
Aye.
Regent Garten.
Aye.
Regent George.
Aye.
Regent Gill.
Aye.
Commissioner Hatcher.
Aye.
Regent Hooper.
Aye.
Regent Kastner.
Aye.
Regent Pilkington.
Aye.
Regent Powers.
Aye.
Madam Chair Reynolds.
Aye.
Regent Spurgeon.
Aye.
Regent Varlin.
Aye.
And Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. We will turn to new business. We have one item on our consent agenda with regard to proposed revisions to a governance policy of ours with regard to freedom of speech and expression. Brian Lapps, our general counsel, briefed us on this at our committee chairs meeting. But are there any further questions? And Brian, are there any further comments you care to make on this policy?
I have no further comments, but I'm happy to answer questions.
Any comments, questions? Thank you all. We do need, of course, a motion to approve these proposed revisions to this policy.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Regent Varlin.
Second.
Regent Kastner, thank you very much. Any further discussion? If not, a roll call vote, please. Oh, we can do a voice vote? Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. We have been advised we can in fact act on this in a roll call vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all very much. Chancellor has stepped away, so let me take this next item. Marianne, will she be returning momentarily or should I proceed? Proceed. Thank you. We have another search to conduct. Willie Huffman, our president at the newly renamed TCAT Henry Carroll, the Henry and Carroll counties, of course, has informed the Chancellor of his intent to retire in April of this coming year, so April 2024. The search criteria was provided, of course, in our materials for today's meeting. The criteria is the standard that we have seen before, obviously many times, with regard to a TCAT presidential search. The only difference, as is consistent with each of these, is that it was modified specifically to apply to TCAT Henry Carroll. Upon the approval of the search criteria, the job will be posted and the recruitment process will begin. And I am pleased to report that Nisha Powers will chair this search, assisted by Regent George and Regent Pilkington. So with that, any questions for the Chancellor with regard to the criteria for TCAT Henry Carroll counties? If not, we do need a motion to approve and a second.
I'll second.
Second, thank you. We've got a motion and a second. And Mariah is advising me that since we don't have anybody online at this point, we can act on this in a roll call vote. All in favor of approving a voice vote. We're all just half a note off today, I think. We can act on this with the voice vote. All in favor, please, of approving the search criteria, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Chancellor, would you like to take the naming request from Roane State?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Roane State Community College is recommending naming their Cumberland County campus the Diane and J. Brown campus. A naming committee was appointed and the committee unanimously approved this recommendation. The college honors Diane and J. Brown for their generous $4 million gift to the Roane State Foundation for a scholarship endowment. Without the support of the Browns, there would be no permanent campus facility. As a respected community leader, Diane decided that Roane State needed a permanent campus in Cumberland County after seeing the substantial growth in student enrollment in the 1990s, and she was determined to make this happen. Through both Diane and Jay's leadership in the campaign for Cumberland County, with Diane as the chair and Jay serving as a part of the campaign team, a goal of $2.5 million was set. When gifts were tallied, the goal was exceeded by nearly $600,000. The Browns have served their community in a variety of ways over the years, including through the Art Circle Library Foundation Board and the complete renovation of the community's public library, the first congregational church organizing the Highland Federal Savings and Loan Association, Covenant Health's Cumberland Medical Center Board, and its precursor, the local Rotary Club, and numerous community-based projects and committees over the years. In subsequent years, through her service on the Roane State Foundation Board of Directors, the Browns continued to give, to lead, and to serve Roane State. She served as an emeritus member of the Foundation Board at the time of her death and was always a welcome source of wisdom and counsel to Roane State. Diane and Jay Brown's contribution to the Cumberland campus is substantial and was integral to the Roane State success and the beautiful campus we have there today. It is my pleasure to bring this recommendation to name the Cumberland County campus the Diane and J. Brown campus to the board for their consideration. This time, I would like to call on Dr. Whaley for his comments.
Thank you once again, Chancellor, Madam Vice Chair, Regents. Every community, I think, has Jay and Diane Brown folks that you know when you need to get things done in the community, you know who to go to. And for years and years and years, President Whiteman knows if you wanted to get something done, you got Miss Diane excited about it. And so from the outset, really the heartbeat of these two wonderful individuals for education started because they both were teachers. And then when Diane's father, who had taken over the local First National Bank, when he passed away, they left their jobs, went to run the bank, so to speak, and then many other opportunities. Miss Diane's family donated the land that Cumberland Medical Center sits on. You spoke about their commitment to the arts, to the local library, and those are just some of the things that they led. But I will tell you that our second president, Dr. Sherry Hoppy, shared with me that when Miss Diane came on to the foundation board, and at that time Roane State did not have a permanent campus in Cumberland County, and as the foundation board gathered for strategic visioning, you've all been part of one of these meetings, very important to do this, where you get to 3 or 4 sticky notes and you say, okay, so write your main ideas and let's stick them up here. What's on your mind? What do we need to do? And they took count of everybody's, and when it came Miss Diane's time to put her sticky notes up on the board, she said, a campus in Crossville, a campus in Crossville, a campus in Crossville. All the notes had the same thing. And so she and the Stones led the charge. The Stones donated the land. The building bears their name. And with their last will and testament, again, once more, the Browns are benefiting countless students to come through their very significant generosity that will endow scholarships to meet the needs of many students in that community for many years to come. Thank you for considering this. These are truly 2 wonderful folks, and we miss them both.
Well, Madam Chair, that concludes my recommendation for this vote.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Whaley, for lovely words about folks who have done so much for us, as so many have. With that, you do have a naming request from Roane State before you. Any further questions or discussion? And if not, may we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Regent White. A second? Thank you very much. May we also do this as a voice vote today? If there is no further discussion, all in favor of the naming request at Roane State Community College, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. And 2024 will be here before we know it, and we have a calendar.
It is hard to believe that we are talking about 2024 dates for our meetings, but you have this information included in your board materials. The dates that we're asking for your approval for are today, Wednesday, March 27th, the TBR System Office. Thursday and Friday, June 13th and 14th, will be held at Dyersburg State. Thursday and Friday, September 19 and 20, Northeast State will be our host, and Tuesday, December 10th, back at the TBR System for our Christmas meeting. Madam Chair, pending any questions, I request approval of these dates.
Any questions with regard to the calendar? If not, this does require a motion and a second to approve.
When will the SOAR awards be? They'll be on the 26th.
They are the night, no,
Night
wait a minute.
before.
But we're doing it a little differently because the board meeting is the day before the awards.
The dinner. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did have to move things around just a little bit due to the hotel accommodations and getting the contract signed with them. So we moved the board meeting up a little bit, and then we'll have the finalist dinner.
Good question. If we have a motion to approve the 2024 meeting dates.
I'll move.
Thank you very much. And a second. Thank you, Regent Hooper. Yeah. Oh, okay, thank you. That's all right. You will be voting soon. May we have, Regent Hooper, may I turn yours into the motion? Thank you. And a second from Regent White. Thank you very much. Any other questions? All in favor of the 2024 proposed calendar, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Under new business, the 3 resolutions to honor Jim Barrett and Laura Monks and Regent Weston Wamp, we will postpone those. I understand Regent Wamp's baby, we don't know if the new baby is here or
Yeah,
not. But
I talked to him last week. The baby is here. It's number 5 and counting, I think. He's also going to be performing a wedding for a good friend of mine next Thursday.
Oh, very good. Very good. So congratulations to the Wamps.
I should know if it's a boy or a girl. I can't remember.
Little girl.
Little girl. Okay.
Oh, very good. But we will honor those 3 at our next meeting. Thank you for your understanding. Chancellor, final announcements, and I think you've got a piece of news for us as well.
I do have an announcement to make that, again, is sad news. Dr. Wendy Thompson has announced to me this week that she has an intent to retire soon. She's going to be leaving in October, so I just, we wish her well. She has certainly deserved this retirement, but those of you that know Wendy know that she does so many things at our office and has done so many things with our system and is just an individual that does that without any fanfare. She goes about her business and gets things taken care of, and most people never realize how much she has taken care of. So we are truly going to miss her. She is not in the room today, but we will honor her at our next meeting and honor her for her service to all that she has done.
Thank you. And she will not be a stranger.
No,
So she's remaining in Nashville, so she will always be a close friend and advisor. Let me pause here at this point before we move to our closing, and just mention once again that we did have a very sad situation arise this morning, and extremely sad news that came to our attention before the start of this meeting, and that is the passing of Dr. Orinthia Montague, our president at Volunteer State Community College. Chancellor is completing the process, or the campus is being informed as we speak. Former Chancellor and our dear friend David Gregory, who lives in the area, is at the campus now with her staff and cabinet. Her husband, of course, has been notified. This is just shocking news this morning, as Orinthia was obviously here for this meeting. She has been with us 2 years this month. So it is a sad loss on many fronts, and she was doing tremendous things at Volunteer State. So it is with a very heavy heart that we think of her fondly today, and certainly our hearts are filled with pain and suffering for her family. We also had sad news this week, and most of you met this person along the way with our confirmation hearings. Michael Marin, the research analyst for the Senate Education Committee, passed away very suddenly last weekend. And we saw Michael in a meeting at the office just the Thursday before. Michael leaves behind a son and his mother and father and his dog Nessie, his canine companion, and obviously a void in the state Senate where he had worked diligently for so long for both Senators Gresham and now Senator Lundberg at the Senate Education Committee. So we mourn Michael's loss and the tremendous help he provided the Tennessee Board of Regents. He was a stalwart in working with us and supporting us and questioning us as the need arose. But he was always consistent in his support of TBR and our mission. So if we may, with the sad news of Michael and with the shocking and sad news of the loss of our colleague, Dr. Montague, this morning, would you join me in a moment of silence to honor their many contributions to our state and to TBR? Thank you all. And we'll keep the Montague family in our thoughts, the Marin family, and certainly our hearts go out to our friends and colleagues at Volunteer State Community College today. With that, as you know, we will reconvene on December 12th at the central office. Dr. Tidings, anything in closing?
No, just to thank the Motlow staff, the TCATs, for all of the great work that you did in hosting us today and also in helping us as we've navigated what has occurred today. So thanks wholeheartedly to each and every one of you.
Let me just echo that. I think for everyone here on the board, this has been an exceptional visit. Michael said it last night. This takes a big team. And Brenda Cannon, I know there are many folks who were part of this success, but to Brenda Cannon, thank you for always just being such a joyful presence on this campus. To Dr. Torrance, to Dr. Edmonds, to acting or interim President Jeff Sisk, and to soon to be Dr. Patrick Wade for hosting us and providing such incredible hospitality over these past 2 days. Is there any further business to come before the board today? Thank you all for your patience and understanding as we have navigated unknown waters this morning. And this is a day where we have celebrated births, with the new WAMP child. We've celebrated contributions of Dr. Chasen, and sadly, we mourn, but we celebrate the lives of others in service to TBR. It's also a day to hug everyone we love a little bit closer as we head home. Be safe. We look forward to seeing you in December. Take care.